player props here on PrizePicks for Friday, March 1st. Before I get started, you guys, take a look in the description below. Hop into our premium Discord. $9.30 per month. It's where I post all the plays I'm making on PrizePicks. We also have other premium cappers in there as well. They post all of their plays, research, and analysis. Super positive community in there. Everyone just trying to help each other cash. We did go one and one yesterday. We had Damian Lillard over first half fantasy. He finished with, I think, like 17 or 18 fantasy points in the first half. He took 6 field goal attempts, which is just insane. I think Bobby Portis took more field goal attempts than him in the first half. We did hit, though, on our Jalen Suggs fantasy score. But 2 plays here from this video. We're 5-1 over our last 6 plays. Hopefully going 2-0 tonight. Let's not waste any time, you guys. Trying to get this video out as soon as possible. Let's just get right into it. First play is going to be a fantasy score prop for the full game, and I'm looking at Herbert Jones here, over 22 fantasy score. Herbert, if you look at his last 5, he is over this line in 5 of his last 5 games, and this game specifically, Pacers versus New Orleans at home. For New Orleans here, and 239 over-under, so the highest over-under on the slate, and a 5-point spread. This team just played a pretty competitive game 2 nights ago in Indiana, and in that game, like I talked about, Herb Jones did finish with 23.3 fantasy. We actually had him over 23.5 in the Discord, and he hooked us. Obviously, he missed a free throw late to go under. But Herbert Jones, right? We take a look at him this season, and his home versus away split's pretty decent as far as helping this line. In the defensive category, he averages 0.2 more blocks and 0.4 more steals per game at home, 0.4 more assists, 0.2 more rebounds, and 0.1 more points. So across the board, plays a little bit better at home, I guess you can say. Over on Outlier, again, there's a link in the description. Get a 7-day free trial with Outlier. Again, 7-day free trial, guys. This is a research betting tool that I do use every single day. But we look at head-to-head. He's over in 2 of his last 2 games versus the Pacers, essentially, which, again, doesn't really play too much of a factor. Obviously, he's only played them once this season. But in 2023, all right, when you filter this to at home, right, and then when you filter this to when Herbert Jones does play like 29-plus minutes, he's over this line in 10 of 15 games. All right, and like I talked about, the Indiana Pacers are the worst defense in the NBA, and they play at the fastest pace. For a defensive player like Herb Jones, who's just seeing massive minutes as of late, 38, 38, 34, and 38 minutes per game for Herbert Jones over his last 4 games. We know Dyson Daniels is out, who is kind of that backup elite defender that Willie Green does use on opposing teams' good players. I mean, Herbert Jones on RotoWire is projected for the most minutes of any player on this team. Like, Willie Green loves to play Herbert Jones a ton of minutes, and I'm not expecting that to change. Like, he was literally in foul trouble last game. Against Indiana. He had 4 fouls, I think, in the beginning of the 4th quarter, and he still ended up playing 38 minutes. So it's not, I mean, he's got a game with 7 steals this season as well, which really, really benefits Herbert Jones's fantasy score upside. That 22, like, he was just at 23.5 last game, and I loved the over on it. We're get him at 22 flat here. I just feel like it's super elite value in my opinion. We look at other small forwards, get fantasy score game log this season, logging 28-plus minutes versus the Pacers. The hit rate is just absolutely elite as well. I mean, we just saw essentially 4 small forwards finish with 20-plus fantasy score against the Indiana Pacers, 23, 29, 20.6, and 42.2 for Brandon Ingram. Scotty Barnes, 65.4. Asar Thompson, a very similar player to Herbert Jones, had 41.9 against Indiana. I mean, you could just see the hit rate here, you guys. I mean, 11, 5, and 2 from Cody Martin with 1 block and 1 steal, 3 turnovers. His steal over on this line. Like, just look at the hit rate. Just go down this column here, you guys, and look at the types of players that are smashing the over on this line. Amen Thompson, a very similar player, defensive-minded, can get steals and blocks. He had 6 assists here, or Amen Thompson had 13 at 6 and 3 blocks, 3 turnovers, had 43.6 fantasy points. I just think this line's a little bit too low for Herbert Jones in a fast-paced matchup at home. He's going to play a ton of minutes. Again, he could be like he's probably actually, let me see. He's like on the season, or actually over his last 10 games, right, 0.84 fantasy points per minute type of player over his last 10 games. So let's just say he plays conservatively, right? He's been playing 34 plus. Let's say he plays 28 minutes, right? 28 minutes tonight times 0.80. I mean, that's 22 fantasy points right there if he plays 28 minutes tonight. He's been playing 38 plus minutes consistently. So I like Herbert Jones here. I'm in a great pace-up spot against the Indiana Pacers at home. Second play here is going to be a PRA prop. I would maybe play fantasy, but I don't think it's on the board yet. Let me see. DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan is the play here. Over 32.5 PRA at home against the Milwaukee Bucks. So just taking a look at this really quickly. DeMar plays much better at home overall, like most players do, but 23.9 averages 0.2 points more per game at home, 0.2 more rebounds, Assists are pretty much the same, but takes 1.2 more field goal attempts at home as well. We look at DeMar, filtering this out kind of over his last. All right, let's just no filter at all, right? Absolutely no filter. DeMar's over this in 11 of his last 20 with no filter, and 7 of his last 10 games. So kind of surprising we get this at 32.5, which to me, this might be DeMar DeRozan's best matchup, like literally his best matchup. We look at the head-to-head, like DeMar DeRozan, taking out these 2 games at Milwaukee where it was weird type of games where he faced the Bucks. Not really sure. He only took 12 and 14 field goal attempts. He might have been sick. I'm not really sure. But take away those 2 games, his last 3 games versus the Bucks, 48, 57, and 54. And if you take away, even go back to the 3 games he faced the Bucks last season, like DeMar went crazy against the Bucks. 49, 48, and 57 PRA last season versus the Bucks, or his last 3 games versus the Bucks before these 2. So essentially, 4 of his last 6 games versus the Bucks, he had 48 plus PRA, 48 plus. The drop coverage, right? Brook Lopez doesn't step up on the pick and roll. Drop coverage allows for mid-range king DeMar DeRozan to absolutely feast. Absolutely feast. Taking PRA here because he is averaging 12.8 potential assists over his last 5, as well as 7.8 rebounding chances. Like he's averaging, around 10 RA, 9, 10 RA. So like I really do think DeMar DeRozan could get at least 25 tonight, which would just need around 8 RA to hit the over on this line, and his RA line is sitting at 9. So I love this spot here for DeMar. Should be a close game as well. We know the Bucks just keep teams in games because of their horrible defense, and they also don't have Chris Middleton. I definitely think the Bulls match up well versus the Bucks as well when they do start Drummond in that front court with Vucevic, sliding DeMar to the 2, the 3, whatever he's going to play in this spot. I think it's a great spot for DeMar. Also, DeMar's just seeing crazy elite usage, you guys. You can see here 40-plus minutes in 3 straight games. I mean, essentially 40-plus minutes in 4 of his last 5. I mean, 38, 44, 38, 40, 36, 40, 40, and 49. The only way this doesn't hit, in my opinion, is if there's a blowout, obviously, or if he just shoots just super, super poor from the field. But we know the history, elite hit rate versus the Bucks. So 2 plays for this YouTube video. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about these 2. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.